Hello, I'm Maya Andreessen, and today we are going to go over some more constraints and how they affect objects. Today's constraint is point constraints. A point constraint causes an object to move to and follow the position of an object or the average position of several objects. So I'm going to be showing a simple point constraint and then a slightly more complex point constraint and how you can utilize them. Point constraints are used both in rigging and they can be used in modeling. So I'm going to be showing you some examples of how to use point constraints as they relate to modeling today. Okay, so as stated before, point constraints are really great because they can constrain an object, cause it to move, and follow the position of another object. In this case, I have two demonstrations, one with these simple spheres and the other with this simple park bench. Okay, so with the spheres, what I want to do is I want to center this tiny sphere in between these two larger spheres. Now, of course, I could just eyeball it, but if you're looking for precision and you want it to be exactly in between these other two objects, you can use a point constraint to point the small sphere in between the two larger spheres. And so we're going to do that right now. So I'm going to select these two larger spheres, and then I'm going to select the small sphere. And in my rigging menu, I'm going to go to Constrain Point Options box, and I'm going to reset settings. With the settings reset, I'm going to hit Apply. And as you can see, my sphere jumped squarely into the middle in between these two large spheres. Once I've done that, I no longer need my constraint, and so I can remove it. But that is one way that constraints can work really well and center an object perfectly. All right, I'm going to hit H to make these disappear so that we can focus now on the park bench. So we're going to do something similar with the park bench. Right now the park bench has two legs, and I'd like to add a third leg to it, and I want it to be squarely smack dab in the center of the park bench. And so in order to do that, you would select these two end armrests and then the center leg. However, we're going to be doing things a little bit differently, and I want to show you why. So if I just use my default settings for the point constraint here and hit Apply, you'll see we have an issue. First off, my center leg is below the park bench. It's not level with the bottom of the bench, and also it has been moved forward, and so I don't want that. That's not the effect that I want. It is in the middle of the park bench, but it's not really centered perfectly in the Y or the Z the way I want it. So I'm going to undo this, and this time what I'm going to do is I'll select everything again. So once again, we're selecting the two ends, and then we're selecting the middle armrest legs. But now in my point constraint options box, I am going to constrain this in the X direction because I want it just to move in the X. So to do that, instead of constraining all axes, we're just going to constrain the X axis. We're going to point this middle, the middle legs in between the two outer legs in the X axis only, and hit Apply. And now, as you see, the position in the Y and the Z are exactly the way I want it, just exactly like the other two, but I have centered it perfectly in the X. And if I let go, we now have the center legs for the park bench centered perfectly using my point constraint. And of course, now that I've done this, I can go to my mid-bench armrest legs, and I can select that constraint and I can delete it. I no longer need it. I have positioned things the way I want. All right, that is how you can use point constraints to great use with models. Until next time, I'm Maya Andreessen. Bye-bye.